Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world, and welcome to another A-Crew webinar. And this is quite an exciting one because this is with not only do we have one of the winners of the Crew Awards with us, Dean Pillati, we also have Ian and Jonny from Voly and Adrian from Yachting Partners. A very warm welcome to all of you. And I see that Dean is turned on a black screen now, so he's probably going to join us anytime soon. And ladies and gentlemen, don't worry about Dean because he is sitting on a balcony overlooking a beautiful beach. And well, we were pretty like jealous, weren't we, Jonny?
No, well, it's great. It's great to be here.
Yeah, it's good to see you, Dean. Just like before we start, we got a great topic here, and I'm happy to have Yachting Partners and Voly with us. Just as a quick introduction, Jonny, can you introduce yourself to the audience, please?
Yeah, Jonny Allbut here from Voly. I head up the sales for Voly, and yeah, very much looking forward to speaking about what we do and how we're changing the industry in regards to accounting.
Fantastic. And you're with your colleague Ian. Would like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi all. I'm Ian Flanagan. So I founded Voly in 2016 October. So Jonny came on very early, and we've been, trying to revolutionise the industry and trying to make a transparent kind of reporting and accounting solution, try and make people like Dean and Adrian's life a little bit easier. So thanks for having me on.
Well, I'm really curious to see, and well done on founding the company. I mean, you've made quite an impact over the years. I'm very curious to see what Dean thinks about it, and we have some questions from people from online to see how that relates. And Adrian, welcome to you as well, Yachting Partners. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, good afternoon, everybody. I'm Adrian Tinkler. I lead up the yacht management side of YPI. And yeah, finance is an interesting topic. It's part of a broad range of what we do. Yeah, it'd be interesting to discuss and hear and share views on how Voly's helped us and is continuing to help us and our captains, crews and owners. So should be a good discussion.
Thank you so much for joining us. And then last but certainly not least, Dean Pillati, who's
gone again.
No, he's there. Are you with us, Dean?
No, it's great to be here. Agreed. Yachting changed tremendously in the last few years, and accounting has become a very big part of it. And the way that Voly's come together and produce the package now it's a time saver. So yeah, looking forward to getting into some detail and sharing it all with you.
Good. You're struggling a bit with your Wi-Fi connection. It was really good before, Dean. I think it's a bit in and out. Do you feel this? Do you guys have the same thing?
Yeah, I've got the same thing.
Yeah. So let's see if we can keep you good. But we'll manage. Okay, the topic of the day, and I'm just gonna read it out, and let's see what your first comment on it is. What was the save time, save money, and basically want a 75 times saving on your financial accounts. And obviously, I do finance at A-Crew, so I was like 75%. So, Jonny, where does this come from? 75% saving.
So the time savings is literally from surveys we've done with our existing customers, taking them through, let's say, their previous ways of working, and then kind of remapping that into how they can use the Voly system, whether that's our integrated prepaid card, which then kind of links into our Crew app, which is kind of Android, iOS based, so allows crew members to start recording their expenses at the time of the event. And then later on, it comes into the reporting side, which then kind of sits more on Adrian's side for producing those end of month accounts for owners, etc.
Okay, and Dean, you've been using Voly for how long?
We've been using Voly now for a couple of years. We started off with just the boat asset, and then we took on board about eight months ago the APA asset as well. We were a bit of helped Voly out with starting to do the sort of pre-testing with that, and now that it's been launched across the board, yeah, it's a great thing. So we've been with them for a couple of years now.
So and Adrian, I'm going to ask you the same question. And what did you do before this solution was there? Because obviously there's always a before, right?
Exactly. I think there's a melee of before and a melee of ways of operating. We've been running Voly for a relatively short time, about 9 months now. And month on month, we're seeing those benefits and those time savings coming in on a regular basis. Before that, there's a multitude of accounting systems across companies being used, sometimes multiple within each company, ranging from Excel to Quicken to other database solutions. And what we project for Voly is streamlining of systems, streamlining of time for our accountants, and composing those reports on a monthly and annual basis. On top of that, of course, on Dean's side of life on board, the sheer simplicity of it and day-to-day and the interactions between companies and entities, it starts compounding one on top of the other. So for us, it really brings a lot of security, safety of data, and there's intangible ways of saving money here when you look at it from a risk perspective. With the errors that creep in, potentially Excel, we all know, is renowned for breaking. So there's lots of tangible and intangible ways of saving time and money.
And Ian, when you founded the company, was this your main objective, or are you just very happy with all these positive words so far? And believe me, I'll be asking the critical questions, otherwise it's going to be the Voly show, and nobody will want to listen to this story.
No, to be honest, I had an involvement in an FX company at first, and it was just through meeting multiple deans, really, where people said, look, please, can you help us? Have you ever thought about integrating something with accounting and doing something on the accounting side? Because, it's kind of the whole, Dean will probably back me up, the whole lick and stick philosophy was still regular on board, of sticking receipts to A4 piece of paper, sending it through an insecure email. And that was kind of the level of reporting. And you have some of the, the largest management companies in the world that were 3 months, 4 months, 5 months behind reporting, just because the onerous timescales it was taken to report. And you'd have an owner that didn't know what he'd spent 3 months previously sometimes. So that was kind of where it began. And then through some of my great ideas and some of the team's great ideas, or accidents as well, we then ended up being where we are now with integrating the mobile app and integrating the card, and soon to be the FX and integrated payments platform. And we just try and listen to people like Adrian and Dean that have been colossally helpful to me as a business owner and my board of shareholders, just to try and shape this product to be the product that helps all. And all the different touch points, because they all have different touch points. Dean will have a very different touch point to Adrian, but we're all trying to get to the same goal, where ultimately the owner has the best level of reporting he can do and the most transparent level of reporting he can do. And then put someone like Dean's shoes, where he can save a lot of time and concentrate on looking after the owner to give him the best holiday possible. Because at the end of the day, it's the user experience for the owner, which is equally as much as important as their safety of their data. So that's where it was all born. And we did a recent kind of strategy report and scope out the market. It was amazing to see that 80% of boats are still using Excel, which, given the latest kind of, the COVID figures that I think Adrian and I discussed the other day, where, they were getting the figures wrong on missing off a tab on Excel, or it couldn't report to the bottom. It's amazing that so many people's important data is still being filtered through Excel. So that's where that's a long-winded answer on to your question.
Well, yes, and I'm going to cut you off now. So basically, so this is, thank you for introducing your first opinion. What we did, because this webinar is recorded and we're going to put it out there, and to make sure that everybody had the opportunity to ask questions, we just put the feelers out on social media, and we collected a few questions, and I just want to pop out one, and I think this is a key one, is security prevention protocols. Obviously, within Europe, we've got GDPR, but in general, we've got all these protocols on data and securing data. And Jonny, I think this is one of the questions that we got, how do you do that? Because that's why we use Excel, and that's why we work within our own little environment, our own little cloud, to make sure that the data is protected.
Yep. Yeah, so within Voly, everything was born at the initial side. It was looking at data security. Like Ian touched on earlier on, how many people use Gmail, Outlook accounts to send this sensitive information backwards and forwards from ship to shore. So with our system, we use two-factor authentication, very similar to that of the banking element. We use modern techniques called salting, securing that data, making it inaccessible to hackers. I think there's a prominent point at the moment with the new IMO 2021 coming in on Jan the 1st, kind of very much more kind of put towards ISM, safety management, and the SOLAS element.
Yeah.
But, we're working towards government kind of frameworks, things like NIST, etc., but won't go into too much detail about today to bore everyone. But, Voly is all about making sure that the owner's identity, etc., spend is very much secure in that respect, and not getting into the hands of the relevant people who should be having it as such.
Fantastic. But thank you for that answer. And anybody wants to pop in or say anything, just shout out. Let's have this an open conversation. But like there's quite a few questions, and like there's quite a few user questions, which means there's quite a few people interested to know a little bit. And I think Adrian, Dean, this is more something that, like, from a user experience, it's like someone is asking, is it easy to use? Like, constantly have new crew on board, want to know how much time we'll need to improve the application. We all know that crew longevity is one of the big issues in yachting. So you've got a lot of like new crew on rotation. So how many people use it on your boat, Dean? Let's start with that.
Okay, so on our boat, unfortunately not for myself, but for every other HOD, they're all on rotation. So there's the four of them. So the chief stewardess, the chef, the chief officer, the chief engineer. So that means there's 8 people. So they all have their own protocols, and they look after their own money, their assets. They've all got their own credit cards, and they're given funds. They request funds through the app. I can accept it, and within 45 minutes, it's on 15 minutes to the hour. If I've approved it, the funds get transferred to their card. And we have US dollar cards, Europe cards, so it doesn't matter where we sort of are. And and the learning curve on it is very easy. In all honesty, they only have a live chat system on their web as well, on their web page, which is amazing. And even when I'm not available to help them out, they just click on that. They answer pretty quickly, or pretty much instantly. And
it should be instant.
Level of support. Within the level of support for that, it's amazing. So the learning curve in the first instance is high, but it doesn't, 10 minutes with it, and it's the app is amazing. It really is.
Okay. Well, I have never used Voly because obviously they have never given it to me. So I don't know what I need to do, but like, thank God Ian is in this conversation today.
Neither have I, and don't worry, I'm not used it either.
So we're like excluded, like we're not important enough, like. But like, so you're saying like basically every department is basically budget responsible, requests budget, gets budget, and report on it. It's like, and Adrian, you're the management company, so you would see every single movement that is happening there, right?
Yeah, exactly. So we've got a team ashore linked in mirror really to Dean and his team on board. And it really depends on the checks and balances that individual owners want to put in place. A lot of boats have quite a bit of autonomy. Other clients might want a little bit extra checks and balance, and maybe introduce an approval ashore on certain purchases above a certain limit.
Yeah.
So as Dean said, he can load up cards individually on the spot. Equally, that can be done ashore if the captain's indisposed and he can't manage that. But also individual purchase requests and approvals can be done on the app, which is amazing, really. So if a manager is appointed to a yacht and it's above a threshold of the captain's approval or a department head's approval, the manager can approve it, even the owner's rep can approve it, and everybody has sight of it live, so it follows a nice set workflow. It reduces the amount of emails, makes things really responsive. And it comes back to saving time and money. And just to point on the previous question about security, one big element ashore for us is cyber security and fraud. Mm-hmm. Fraud is on the massive increase in businesses ashore, and in fact we've experienced it several times this year in our own company. And emails are very, very susceptible to being hijacked, phished, copied, altered, adjusted. But when you have a very secure database that everybody's working through online and is very resilient to hackers, then we've got an increased security as well. So it really, it's covering a broad base of issues really across the board.
Oh, you both of you seem pretty satisfied with the whole solution. I'm pretty intrigued, to be honest, and because this is I can imagine with a lot of companies, you got a lot of credit cards going around. People are traveling, on the vessel, you got a lot of departments using funds, and basically you're saying that an owner, if they wanted to, an owner's rep could have the app and just follow their vessel real time on expenses. Is that the way it is, Jonny?
Yeah, indeed.
Yeah,
so we can open up access to owners' representatives, the owner's family office, etc. Adrian mentioned, in regards to if there's the captain or the management have a certain limit applied to an invoice, etc., it needs to have further approval or sign off. Then that party can have access into the system, review the information, maybe a quotation or whatever, and then from there they can approve it, and then the workflow's all contained in one area. So rather than backwards and forwards with emails and attaching of receipts or quotations, everybody's basically seeing off the same hymn sheet. And then there's a full trace and trackability element of who's approved what within the system, time and date.
Okay. Pretty cool, because and how do you do that, Dean, then? Because you are private and you're charter, right? So you got the boss on board sometimes, and sometimes you have charter guests. How do you then diversify the costs that would be included in the charter or which are excluded? How do you diversify that? How does that work in the system?
So we run, like I said before, we run an APA package and the running boat package through Voly. So when we charter, we have the APA loaded onto our charter assets through Voly, so it stays completely separate. The amazing thing with that is the chef can be out shopping, and by the time he gets back to the boat, he's already reconciled his receipts through scanning it through his phone. I have an absolute live running total of what the charter guest has spent, and come the end of the charter, I don't have to go out and sit with the charter guest, open up my folder, have 1,000 receipts that could blow away. It's all presented on a spreadsheet or on the iPad. He can question something. If something needs to be amended, I can do it there in front of him live, and it's there, and I can give it to him in US dollars, in euros, across the board, and it all stays clean. So the owner's stuff is separate against the charter stuff, and it's all really good. One of the great things too is, for us, our owner is very much involved with the family office, and I have a $10,000 limit on my spend. So anything over 10K needs to be approved by the office. So what happens is I accept the quote, goes into the system, and then our family office approves it. As soon as she's done it, it goes, and then management pay it straight away. So we have a tiered system of approvals, and it's just flawless. It really is. And if she has an issue with it, she'll write a comment on the thing. It comes back into my inbox. I answer the comment, again, not through email. It's through a secure system, so no one else is seeing it, and it's great.
Yeah, that sounds pretty good. But how do you do that with cash payments? Because there's also cash going out.
Yeah, so every individual HOD has their own cash portfolio, and it's just run as normal. They request cash, they get given the cash if they ask for it, and they're accountable for it. They fill in the receipts, the deductibles, they reconcile their receipts at the end of every month, and it all balances off, and that's it, And then if we have to recall the cash, they just have to give back what's left at the end of the month.
Okay. Because in my days we used to have a big pile of cash on the boat, right? Tucked somewhere, and you needed it for things, right?
I think that's one of the big things.
Cash is a dying form.
Yeah, I think that's one of the big things. Sorry, just to put in there was with the prepaid card now, that solves a huge problem for cash, especially in somewhere like France where they don't like you carrying too much cash on board.
Yeah.
The prepaid card kind of fills that void because they can use it for the card transaction, but they can withdraw cash on the card as well. We have a high limit expense card where, forgive me, Johnny will probably know more. I think we can pull out $5,000 a day on a singular card. So unless it's a ridiculous amount of cash they need, which obviously sometimes they do, we do fill that void of needing to keep a load of cash, which again makes the boat a safer place, right? Because the cards can be loaded as and when they need it. So ultimately it's sat in a float in a bank account, safe as houses until someone needs it.
That makes sense. Adrian, you want to add something? Oh, sorry, go for it, Dean. Go for it.
Yeah, I was just going to say the cost of the cards now is so minuscule that having all HODs having their own cards is so much better now than. Honestly, the cash intake of our boat is at 10% of what it used to be. So every HOD on this boat has a US dollar card, a Euro card, and then they all have two other US dollar cards and 2 other Euro cards for chartering. So, it's just complete package covered.
Yeah, I would add to that, and the old way of getting cash to master as a manager was a nightmare and becoming harder and harder. And really, with the prepaid cards, it's also wiped on its head the whole credit card statements and the 6-week lag, and then reconciling accounts, and that's all dead. That's all dead in the water. It's all that. It's just a transaction happens within minutes. It's live on the system, and it's already reconciled. All the user has to then do is code it to the account with the right category and scan or take a photograph of the receipt.
Okay, going back to your point about time saving, there's 3 elements within once you've utilized the Voly card. It's, you can then apply a guest name if we're talking about the APA side, categorize the receipt and just take the picture, and that's their expenses done from an APA element. The joy of our APA module is we're actually building the charter expenditure or the report as we move along. Traditionally what you'll be doing is making your expenses and then coming to some form of spreadsheet and collating all of those expenses, and you're generally doing that at the end of the charter. Whereas how Voly operates within the APA module is it's actually building your report as you move along. And from a HOD's perspective, all they're doing is 3 elements, literally spending, take a picture of the receipt and categorizing it, and that's their expenses done. And I think like Adrian said, there is no reconciliation with the Voly card. It's a huge time-saving element when you're using a standalone card program, whereas ours is fully integrated. Again, it's just adding to those time-saving features, streamlining process, reducing human error, etc.
Well, I get it, but I know a lot of vessels that still have that one boat card that basically goes hand to hand, or there needs to be cash and someone has to run ashore to get cash from the ATM because the flower bill needs to be paid in cash. I mean, all those things. I mean, we all know those stories, right?
I think a lot of that comes from the trust element as well. That unless the owner's been with the crew a long time, they also don't like the idea of giving a credit card with a $100,000 limit to 7 different people, whereas with the prepaid card offering that we offer, that card can be loaded and unloaded, so they can give it to a chef, they can give them the 20,000 to do his shopping, you can come back having spent the 15 grand and unload the 5 grand, and it's just a lot more controllable and a lot more instant and makes it a lot more accessible.
Yeah. So from which vessel size do you think it would work this way, or is it any vessel size?
We've got everything from 22-meter boats where it's one kind of captain that needs some help because he hasn't got the backup of staff, all the way up to the largest boats in the world that have got it from a point of view that the numbers get bigger, right? The monthly spend gets bigger. So we've catered for the entire market, really. I mean, I think the sweet spot from what we're told is kind of the 50 to 80 meter.
Yeah.
But ultimately, the sweet spot is who wants to embrace the software. That's where Adrian's kind of been forward thinking at YPI, that you can do everything at the touch of a button now. The owner can open his curtains, close his curtains, put his kettle on, control his hot tub, can do everything he wants in life from the touch of a button. And they want to be able to see their money at the same time. They want to be able to click on an app and see how much they spent on the boat today. And that's where, YPI and some of the other management companies that have worked with us from the start have seen the benefit of is it's just that reporting now, and that real-time reporting, I think that that it's a sweet spot, and that becomes, whether it's a 30-meter boat or 150-meter boat, they all want the same thing.
You also use it like you use it obviously in your chart to the APA, but you, Adrian, do you guys also use it to budget and to plan, thinking about work to be done and like
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, it'd be great. It's great to hear Dean's feedback on the Charter APA. We've been wholly concentrating on the operational finance side of it in our initial phase, but the next phase will really be to encourage our charter yachts to encourage and add that APA add-on. But included is the full operational budgets are included in the solution. Mm-hmm. So as you go along, you have a live reporting of your actual versus budgeted spend. So so again, having a separate spreadsheet with your budget, it's all included in the solution. It's all there live and reportable at any one point in time. And I think really that live issue brings other things to us as managers. So like Dean was expressing, when things get approved, the family office approve it, and then management, if they've got the funds available, can pay it. But having that live picture helps us liaise with the family office and ensure that we always have available funds. Traditionally, there's a long lag with reporting and fund requests, but as you get to a live status, it's easier for owners to keep their cash where they want it and release it when they need to release it. So it's much better financial planning from a family office perspective as well, and getting funds into operational accounts, whoever's managing it, on a needs basis, really, rather than lumping in sometimes hundreds of thousands in fund requests per year, per month, and sometimes that money's sitting idle for too long, and owners don't like that.
I think what Adrian just touched on there is our ability to run a committed spend report, which is great. If something's been approved within Voly, etc., but are not ready for invoicing, it just allows you, especially when you go into something like a yard period or refit, understanding what work's going to be undertaken during that period of time and making sure the funds are available within the account for the management company to make the payments on time, etc.
Yeah, makes total sense. And then listen, because in the end, there needs to be reporting. There needs to be annual accounting. Some of us some will use the family office. Some will use one of the bigger firms, maybe one of the big four. Is that all those APIs connection approvals are there, Ian? I think that's a question to you.
You know what? From a yachting perspective, we don't really get asked that much to feed into the big four. I think at the end of the day, this is a lifestyle choice for the owner, so it's a lifestyle spend that they kind of keep separate from their full accounting. Some do. We could. There is a bunch of, which Jonny might know more about. There is a bunch of downloadable kind of PDFs and exporting that we can export in some of the larger accountancy packages, but we don't really need to, and that's what fulfills the product for an Adrian, where they can report. At the end of the day, there's not a load of income for these yachts. A lot of it is just spend, and we give them a multitude of reporting suite that allows them to report that. So we don't tend to get asked too much to report into the big four.
But just leading on from Ian's comments there, we do get audited. Maybe not in a structured auditing sense that the big four would do, but on an annual basis, often our clients come in and audit the accounts, and it's an open book session. And what Voly does is allow us to give access to the auditors, the open book. They can audit it and they can also do that remotely. Whereas the traditional way of doing that on big accounts would be they come and sit in the office for 2 weeks and audit multiple yachts and the company's corporate accounts as well. Mm-hmm. Whereas with this, wherever they are in the world, we can give them read-only access, and they can expose and audit all day long.
Yeah. And just touching on that, Anna, as well, it's not just what can be audited, it's not also just the spend and the actual numbers. Because of the approvals request and all the messaging board that sits on it, there's actually normally a full audit of the conversation that sits behind something. So not only have they bought a £50,000 jet ski, for argument's sake, but there's normally the 3 quotes behind it, why they bought that one, why they didn't buy the other one. Mm-hmm. And I think that gives owners comfort to know there's an answer to every question, hopefully. Fingers crossed. Well,
that's a good point as well. And for everybody who doesn't know what the big four are, Deloitte,
Stella, Heineken, Budweiser. So we're in yachting, Cristal, Cruise, Dom Perignon.
Oh, that reminds me of like I once like we do all these events. We were in St. Kitts. You were not there, like so. And one of the people wanted to do a little beach thing. So one of the beach clubs said, like, they can come here. We got plenty of drinks. I sure that was the year that like Minuti was hot. I said, like, come. Are you sure that you're good? Yeah, we're good. We got tons. Within an hour, he calls me, says, we're run out of Minuti. What do I do? Welcome to Yacht Crew.
Wasn't Dean, was it?
Yeah.
Well, no, Dean wasn't there. Dean wasn't there. Dean, do you think you're going to win again next Saturday? Next week, Saturday?
Who knows? Who knows? Hopefully, you never know.
Yeah.
Can you win the ACRU award twice?
Yes, you can actually. But Dean is now you're in a different category.
I'm in a couple of categories this year, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
I'd like to win the charter boat one. But one of the other things I just wanted to mention is that probably something that hasn't been thought about in Voly is, like, as you pointed out earlier, I'm on holidays at the moment and I'm sitting here in Antigua. And as you know, I'm very much into training. And so when I left, I signed over my my permissions to the chief officer. Now, although I still see everything that he does, it gives him a month of being responsible in that role as the captain, being on board. So he takes over the management role of the boat, and I do that off the Voly app and off the website for Voly, and it just gives them the trust that they're doing it. Although I still see it in the background, and I'm still watching every move he makes, but it just makes them feel like, you know, that they're evolving and they're learning the techniques that they're going to need as they move forward to become a captain, you know. And I think that's a great part of it as well, the ease of changing it yourself without having to go back to Voly or to ask management, or, you know, it's a great part of the tools that are available with it.
Right.
Good point.
Yeah, good point. I'm going to go towards an end of this conversation. I mean, I think we can talk forever. And all these positive notes aside, Adrian, Dean, if there's one thing they need to change or do better, what would it be?
No, I think, well, we've got a really constructive conversation on a regular basis with Voly about what's good, what's indifferent. I don't think there's any bad points, and I'm not saying that to big up Voly, but there's always room for improvement. I think as it leans in another touch point into the corporate service providers and VAT reporting is something that can be built on. And there's little touches, I think, with increased reporting, which can streamline things more and more. We've yet to experience the payment and FX side of life that Ian touched on earlier. So I think it's more about the possibilities for improving rather than any kind of negative of where it's.
Yeah.
I think, Honor, just before Dean answers,
Next
quickly,
step.
because I'm sure Dean will have a different view as well, but just I think that's where we've really tried the business, and hopefully Adrian and Dean will back me up on what we say. At the end of the day, we're not on the boat every day. We're not managing the boat every day like Adrian and Dean are. And I think what we try to do is really sit and listen to the people that know, and we've allowed a lot of people to help develop our system and shape our system. So, thank you both for doing this, but also for helping us shape it. But I think that's a really important point, that we want these guys to help design the system with us.
Well, Adrian has become very emotional when you said that, and he's left the room. And he's coming back. So, Dean, you want to add something to that?
Yeah, no, look, for me, like Adrian pointed out, there's the modules as they're going to come, and the pay aspect side of it. And
Oh, that was Dean leaving the room. I mean, I don't know what you said to them, Ian, because first Adrian leaves the room very emotional, then Dean leaves the room.
I thank them both and they leave.
Yeah.
You're going to look for that common denominator as with everything, you know, with numbers.
I mean, I guess Ian wants to be ACRU Entrepreneur of the Year next year. I mean, someone needs to nominate him for that award. Good. Hey, listen, guys. Great chat, very nice roundtable. I mean, for me, it's given quite a bit of insight. So I am like I don't mind being guinea pig for any new developments, Johnny, as long as as long as I don't have to pay for it. I'm absolutely happy. No, but I've learned a lot, and I'm very interested in the topic in general. I mean, I am the CFO of Acre, so I'm into these kind of things. On the other hand, a lot of the questions that have been asked online, I've put into the conversation that we had. I think we answered quite a few questions. We didn't do this to only promote Voly. I think we did this to talk about the future and the current way of how to handle boat finances. I think that's more of the conversation. There are different solutions. We now talk to people that, like Ian, that founded the company, and Adrian and Dean that are using that solution are very satisfied it. But I think overall what we're saying is the future is get out, not too much cash on board, get away from Excel. It's online, it's real time, it's reportable. It is what nowadays life brings. It's not like in the old times you put in like an advert in the newspaper, you wanted to date someone, now you've got Tinder. I think like things evolve. Johnny, stop laughing.
Interesting. I'm
no
glad
comment.
you compared it to Tinder. Thanks for that. I think what will happen is I think forward-thinking management companies and forward-thinking captains like Dean and Adrian, I think, will shape our product, but also the yachting space. And I think that's where yachting needs to go now. Trusting people that have, that are embracing technology and understand the pain points. And if there's a lot more of the companies like us that can come and solve different problems, then the yachting world will be a better place, I think.
Well, yeah, I mean, we have a great industry, but we all know that this industry is not the easiest industry to adopt new things, right? Adrian, I think you experience it every day from a management company perspective. It's like, because it's a small industry, but it's also an industry which is quite conservative. May I say that, Adrian? Is that something that I could say?
I think we've all lived through it. Yeah, absolutely, 100%. We'll recognise that. But time waits for no man, and I think change is upon us, and it has been for a while now. And I think it's time to realise it. And as you say, it's not just about finance. There's many other solutions out there that we're looking and developing at the minute. That maybe could feature on some other discussions, but not to cloud it today. But I think it's a general thread that digitalization, the use of technology, mixed with the right skill level, it's still a people business, and it always will be. But utilizing technology with the people who want to harness it and make a difference is where we're at.
And that gives you more time to be with the people. And that's what we are. We are in the service industry. Yeah. And doing accounts is not why I became a captain. Let me tell you.
Well, I always compare a captain, and I know that you're in quite a lucky situation, Dean, but I always compare a captain of being the CEO of a multi-million-dollar company without having the resources someone would have in a multi-million-dollar company.
Amen to that.
Yeah. With that amen, we say goodbye. I think this is like the moment to get out.
That was Dean's mic drop.
Yeah.
Adrian,
thanks, guys.
Thank you so much, Dean. Thank you, Adrian, for joining us and with your
great
comments. Johnny, always happy to have you with ACREW. Thank you for your support over all those years. Adrian, lovely meeting you today. Well done.
Too. And if there's anyone else, any questions, if anyone listening, just tell them to fire it through to you, and we're here to answer any more questions that come in, or just we're here to answer it.
Exactly. So we'll be editing this video, posting it, and guys, share it, comment, and then let's make sure that Johnny's got so much things to do that he can't have Christmas.